Hey there, card folk. Speedrobo here, and I have a really interesting Digimon deck profile to show you. So, I have a bit of a hot take when it comes to the Digimon card game. If a card is not a Digimon, that card is inherently bad. Well, why am I saying that? Simple. Every time you Digivolve, you draw a card. That is such a huge advantage. It cannot be understated. In addition, the Digivolve cost for every Digimon is between 4 and 0, with a few exceptions such as Omnimon. And their effects aren't really any less powerful than the effects on options or tamers, with, again, a few exceptions being the tamers that give you 3 memory at the start of your turn. So, why would I use options or tamers when I could just use Digimon and draw cards for it? With that in mind, I decided to try to create a deck that is purely Digimon, and to see how well it worked. Well, through my testing, this deck's really solid, and I recommend you give it a shot and see if you like it. It's a very aggressive deck with plenty of defensive options. Let's jump right in. To get started with the eggs, we run one copy of Wanyamon. If your opponent has 2 or more Digimon with no Digivolution sources, this Digimon gains +2 DP. You don't really have to discard any Digivolution sources to get this power up. Most people are willing to hardcast their Digimon, and you'll get this ability off anyway. 4 copies of DEMIVEEMON. When attacking once per turn, if this Digimon is jamming, draw 1 card. This ability is going to be really easy to activate, and jamming is an awesome keyword, which we're going to talk about more right now, with Veemon. Cost of 3, Evo for 0, jamming. When you attack your opponent's security with a card that has jamming, your opponent's security Digimon do not do battle with your attacking Digimon. This means that in the early game, we can use our jamming cards to just take out security like that with absolutely no risk to ourselves. It's phenomenal. Next, we run GOMAMON. Once per turn, when a Digivolution source is discarded from one of your opponent's Digimon, gain a memory. This card is part of the reason why we don't have to run Mat or any other tamers. Blue has tons of ways to gain memory on just using Digimon skills. Sure, there are a few decks that can shut this down, Terriermon and Chumon come to mind, but in general, we don't really have to worry about it. Another reason why we don't need Mat is that everyone is expecting everyone to run their tamer that gives them 3 memory at the start of the turn. Well, why does that help us? Simple. Herd immunity. If everyone expects everyone to just have 3 memory at the start of their turn, they're going to build their decks around giving their opponent 3 memory every time in order to maximize their play options. People aren't going to be expecting us to not have this. Therefore, we'll generally have 2 to 3 memory at the start of all of our turns anyway. So, thanks to the meta being the way it is, we don't have to run our tamer that gives us 3 memory, and we can pretty much expect to have it anyway. Sure, there will be some times where we're stuck with 1 memory, but that's where Blue's memory gaining skills come in handy and, cover that issue. Next, we run Gabumon. When played, draw 1. Not bad. In general, you aren't really going to have to worry about hardcasting your rookies, but when you do, he's a good one to go for. And speaking of hardcasting rookies, here's one you do want to hardcast, because it's a blocker. We've got plenty of blockers in this deck, giving us tons of defensive options on top of our super aggressive early game jamming. This deck's pretty much got it all. Going into champions, Anjumon. He gives us a way to discard our opponent's Digivolution sources and trigger the abilities. When attacking, discard 1 Digivolution source from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon as is inheritable. And he only evos for 2? Heck yes. Frigimon. Jamming. Hardcast him for 4 or evo him for 2. Either way, he is super valuable. As I said earlier, jamming is a fantastic keyword, and there's a lot of ways to get a lot of advantage out of it. You just pummel away at your opponent's security, don't lose anything for it, put a threatening Digimon on the board that your opponent's going to have to redirect an attack into, protecting your own security. And if you feel like blocking for your jamming guys, go for it. Speaking of blocking, here's just a standard 6000 DP blocker. Great stuff. And our last champion is LEOMON. When destroyed, gain +2 memory. Haha, LEOMON has a death effect. Funny, because he dies all the time. The creators of the card game know what's up. But this is also a fantastic skill. Just throw him into the opponent's security, expect him to die, gain memory for it. It's fantastic. Going into the ultimates, we run 3 copies of Where GABUMON. Evo's for 3, but his inheritable is super worth it. During your turn, if your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution sources, security attack +1. Did your opponent hardcast a Digimon this game? Cool. Punish them for it. It's awesome. Bossdemon's just a cheap ultimate card to use. Now, the thing about this is that we do have to build our deck around having less memory than some other players might. We might be stuck with 2 or 1 memory during some of our turns, and we have to plan for that. That's why having cheap evolution options is a must. And Magna Angemon. Same skill as Angemon, still good. Going into our Megas, we run 4 copies of Metal GABUMON. Once per turn, when attacking, he becomes active. Punch 2 of your opponent's securities, or punch a Digimon and a security, or 2 Digimon. Whatever you feel like, man, this card is great. And the ace of the deck, Leopardmon. When Digivolved, play 1 level 4 or less Digimon from one of your Digimon's Digivolution sources without paying its cost. And all of your level 4 or less Digimon have jamming. Heck yes, give everything jamming, play dudes for free. What's the downside? Costs 4 to Evo, that is fine. And that's the deck. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you like this deck? Do you agree with me that Digimon are inherently the best card type in the game? Do you think this deck could be improved by running Matt as its tamer in the deck? Answer is yes. Let me know. Comment down. Are there any other decks you want me to take a look at? If so, let me know that as well. I've been Speedrobo, and I will see you later.